What's good, everybody? Lovely Soul Empress here, coming to talk about soul ties, okay, and illness, okay. And I feel like a lot of times we don't realize that things that we have going on in our life are making us ill. What's good, Jennifer LaRoe? What's good, Copenhagen? Okay, so I wanted to talk about this because, I'm very interested in what Spirit has to say about this. Okay, I feel like often when we have a temporary or let's say autoimmune or something that's lasting longer, a longer term illness, it's usually an indication of something that our body is trying to tell us to purge. Okay, so I wanted to touch on this. A few years ago, first off, I'm diagnosed with 3 autoimmunes. What's good, Tamila? Okay. And I feel like it didn't dawn on me that that it was a soul tie basically that was making me ill until the third autoimmune. And I felt like we should discuss this. Okay, so let me just light some incense and get everything together for us. Okay. I feel like this is an important topic because we've been taught to be so much in the 3D that we don't know how to listen to our bodies anymore. Okay, it's like we ignore the warning signs. And I feel like that's what Spirit has put on me to talk about. Okay, usually means that you're pushing something down. Okay, I'm just gonna light some Palo Santo before we get started. But it usually means that you're pushing something down. Okay, that you don't want to address something, or that you are compromising something that your soul doesn't want you to compromise. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that. Okay, so I'm gonna speak about mine a little bit. All 3 of my autoimmunes. Oh, thank you so much. Copenhagen says I've been diagnosed with a heart of gold. Thank you so much. But I feel like, all 3 of my autoimmunes are, in my lower chakras. Okay, so basically, when I was very young, around 11, I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome. Okay, so that's like healthy gut, like having a gut problem, intestinal problem, right? And then when I was about 15, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. Okay, and then when I was, I want to say, approaching my mid 40s, I got diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. Okay, and I feel like I can pinpoint now that I'm older that each of those immune systems was talking, each of one of those autoimmunes was talking about something that I wasn't addressing in my life. Okay, and so we're gonna talk about that. Thank you. Okay, walking away, all right? Oftentimes, illness is telling you that it's time to separate yourself from something. Could be a food, could be a person, could be a place, right? But we've been taught that, if there's something wrong, we should just go to the doctor, right? A lot of times the medications, can exacerbate, or if they address one symptom, they give you 3 more, right? So I'm not telling you to take medicine or not take medicine. That's an individual way, whether you want to go, you know, traditional, or you want to go holistic, that's also up to you, right? But I feel like we need to talk about what's the root, okay? Because I feel like medicine is treating symptoms, is not treating the root of an illness, okay? So the first card we have out here is the thinking woman. Okay, and I feel like a lot of our illnesses that have to do with anxiety and stress, emotional, mental, have to do with overthinking, okay, male or female. All right, means that we're dealing with some type of challenge emotionally or mentally, and maybe we haven't found the root of that. Okay, you have the 6th chakra, archangel Metatron. Okay, this is also has to do with the third eye, right? Because in for most of our lives, and many people right now, what's good, Cynthia, they're not decalcified yet, right? So they're looking for reasons as to why they're suffering from illnesses, or they're just treating the symptoms, but they don't understand, right? Now, if you had your third eye decalcified, you would be able to get messages from, what's good, Nelson? You would be able to get messages from the universe that would let you know, what is out of balance. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to get myself comfortable. Oh wait, I have to stop for a second before I continue. I forgot to show you guys. Look, guys, spiritually strapped, can't stop my shine. This is a new shirt that is on my website. Okay, there's multiple colors. If you're interested in that, you can check that out. Okay, but yes, I feel like once your third eye is decalcified, you start kind of knowing that that something outside of you is affecting internally. Okay, so and then you'll start looking. Thank you. You'll start looking for ways to address it, okay? But when we're not aware of that, I personally feel like if you are a person like me that has read the Bible, right? I've read it 3 times from front to back. It talks about a lot of these people like Moses living like over 400 years, right? Now, yes, time runs differently in this dimension with this density, but I feel like the pineal gland being calcified shortens our lifespan because we're not getting the messages of healing, okay, or how to heal ourselves. Okay, so I feel like that's what Spirit wants us to explore. Look, you got the thinking man here and you had the thinking woman. So Spirit is saying that this is for both male and females, that we have this problem. And when we have these things that are affecting us in our mental state, we will push them through the chakra system and they will take root in the body and cause an illness, okay? Angel of balance, okay? When you start getting sick, it's your body's way of telling you that something is out of balance, whether it's external or internal, right? And then you got the yin and the yang, right? Needing to find, that's that soulmate, okay? Or, because you have the divine feminine, divine masculine within you, right? But we're also taught to look for our counterpart. And I feel like a lot of illnesses come from the soul ties. And that's why I named it that, okay? I feel like for me, the last autoimmune that I had that I was diagnosed with was coming on in a very tumultuous part of a relationship that I was in, okay? And I feel like my body was informing me of something that I was missing from my intuition, okay? It was as if I didn't want to know something and my body was like, no, you have to pay attention. And I suffered with this illness for the greater part of 3 years, okay, for the greater part of 3 years. And once I addressed the root, okay, which I ended up addressing the root in a way that was unconventional. It was like spirit forced something to the surface, something that I was ignoring, okay, and a tower happened, right? But right after I addressed the tower, the symptoms stopped. And this is how I know that these things are caused by things that we have in our mind, okay, or things that we're carrying in our heart, or one of the chakras, basically, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Trust that all will be well is in the reverse, right? And that's what we do a lot of time. We just say, well, oh, I'm not feeling well. It's probably just today, or maybe I'm just off, but we don't look at what the reasoning is. What's good, Leah Lou? Okay, and what it is that your body is screaming at you, telling you to pay attention. Pay attention to either something that's missing, something that that you need to remove, okay? Something that is unhealthy for you. This could be something you're putting in your body. This could be a person around you. This could even be a location, okay? So you got full moon in Sagittarius. See the bigger picture in reverse, okay? So Spirit's saying that oftentimes we don't want to look at what it is, because it means that we will have to change something that we're unwilling to change, okay? You got leave the past behind, okay? And that came out in the upright. And I feel like what Spirit is saying is that once we discover what the thing is, whether it's something you're putting in your body, on your body, a relationship, a place, a location, a job, right? You got to not pick that up again, okay? Because that was what was causing, it was like your body's trying to tell you, leave this behind, okay? Leave this behind. And sometimes it's your mind working against you, like overthinking, okay? Take inspired action is out here. So basically talking about, thank you so much. I feel like what it's saying is once you recognize what it is and you take action on it, things will improve, okay? Unleash your kindest self, okay? Sometimes we're kind to others, but not to ourselves, okay? And when you are ignoring what your body is telling you, you are not being kind to yourself, okay? So I'm gonna take a shadow card because I feel like the two parts that are most affected in this kind of in the subject that we're talking about is usually the inner child and the shadow. Okay, there's things that sometimes your shadow represses, or you force your shadow to repress, and then it shows up in your body as illness. Old traumas that the inner child suffer from also will show up as illness. So when I said that I had an autoimmune diagnosed at 11, right? It was as if back then, you know, the doctors didn't take note, like, why is an 11-year-old having irritable bowel syndrome? Because I had toxicity in my home. I had trauma that I was suppressing, okay? I didn't remember that I was molested till I was 17, you see? So it was my body screaming at me, telling me, you don't feel safe. You don't feel heard. You feel unprotected. And because I didn't have the tools and I didn't have people around me that were looking for the reasoning, that went undetected my whole life, okay? And even when I was 17 and I made the discovery, I still didn't put 2 and 2 together, okay? So we're gonna pull from the shadow because I want to see, you know, what the shadow says about this, okay? you know, let's take headaches, for instance. Let's say that every day, and I know somebody who's going through this right now, every day they get a headache right before they go into work. Okay? So what does that tell you? That tells you that your job is stressing you the fuck out. Whether it's the actual job, whether it's something that is in the job, right? Whether it is a person who's at the job. But it's telling you that that no longer resonates with you. Okay? I know someone else who was getting headaches on the way home. Every day on the way home. Okay, why were they getting headaches? Because there was something that they needed to address, something that they were running from, okay? And they didn't want to look or have to face something, okay? So let's see what Spirit has to say about this. Thank you. Okay, so sometimes I hear your voice. Okay, and I feel like this, sometimes I hear your voice, right? This could be the shadow who is in charge of protecting the inner child, right? Can hear the voice of the inner child, right? The part of you that feels unheard or unprotected, like I was using my own example, right? And like in my case, since I didn't remember, and let me tell you something. I'm glad that Spirit pulled up this card because I want to give you actual tangible examples as to how to identify this in your life, okay? So a mind molester was an ex of my mother's. Okay, I hadn't seen him for a very long time. Probably a good 9 or 10 years, right? When I was a kid. And he used to live in the neighborhood. I didn't know if he still lived in our neighborhood or not. Hadn't run into him in a very long time. Anyway, I had a dream. You know, you guys know, I have the gift of, intuition, right? So I had this dream that I saw him and he was chasing me and he was on a skateboard, right? And 2 days later, oh, thank you. 2 days later, I saw him physically in the supermarket. So that was my intuition preparing me for this encounter, right? So I saw him in the supermarket. I was actually had gotten pregnant with my first child. And I panicked. Like I felt like a 5-year-old. I couldn't explain why I felt like a 5-year-old. Okay. And I felt like I wanted to run. I actually, by the time I got to the register, I had like a panic attack. I started to feel dizzy. I thought it was related to the pregnancy, right? Later, I realized the reason why I had that dream was because my subconscious was about to reveal to me what had went down. And the reason why I felt 5, because that's how old I was. Okay, that's how old I was. So you see, your body is giving you clues, okay? So when he said to me, this card makes me think, I had my back to him and he said, hello. And when I heard his voice, it was like everything, it was almost as if my body recognized who it was before I did. Okay? So, yes, I was just talking about something about that Copenhagen. It's funny that you said that. Okay? But I just want to bring that to your attention. It says, I never used to look at you in that way. Right? And I feel like I never used to look at you in that way is coming up because it's talking about once you see something, you can't unsee it. Okay, so like let's say you get diagnosed with migraines. Okay? Let's say you get I know somebody like this, okay? let's say you get diagnosed with migraine. You got diagnosed with migraines, right? And you start taking medication, and you're having the, you're under a lot of stress. Maybe you have a very demanding job, right? And this person, I asked them, I said, when do you remember having your first migraine? You'd be surprised what the person's answer was. They said, I was 7 years old. I was 7 years old, and my father was upset with me, and he slapped the taste out of my mouth, and my head hit a concrete wall. A lot of you know that the projects have concrete walls. Apologies, your dog is going crazy. Cut it out. Hush it up. So basically, what they didn't realize was that the migraines that were happening presently in the future, they had gotten a new boss who had a similar personality to the father who used to whoop their ass, right? So their reaction to someone who puts them under stress and triggers the fears that they had of authority as a child was triggering migraines. Okay, so you need to look at, once you get something like that, you need to look at what's the last or the beginning point. Maybe not of the time that you're in, but like as a child. Okay, you need to look at that. Okay, I pretend you don't mean that much. I pretend you don't mean that much is talking about maybe the value of the shadow or the value of the inner child, right? So let's say that you get cheated on. Let's say you get cheated on. Let's say it was your first boyfriend or girlfriend, and you were very much in love, and you were very dedicated, and you didn't see it coming, and it hit you over the head, right? And then, later on, right, it goes away. Let's say that whatever illness you got, it goes away, right? Then you're in a relationship, and the person that you're with is starting to move funny. You see a change in their behavior. And all of a sudden, you start suffering from some type of illness. Your body is trying to tell you that this stems from the time before, okay, when you were going through that experience, okay? So it could be telling you it's happening again, okay? Or it could be telling you you haven't finished dealing with this old trauma, and now we're giving you an opportunity to face it again, okay? So I never want to feel that way again, right? So using my own experience, as a teenager, I was a little bit out of control, a lot out of control, right? And I fought a lot, right? And my mother, she took me to a psychiatrist because she was like, oh my God, like what's going on, right? Yes, fibromyalgia is, yes, and your body is probably telling you that there's something that you're not looking at. But like, what I was saying is I was acting out, right? So my mother took me to the therapist. They couldn't figure out anything wrong. They thought I was very emotionally intelligent. They couldn't really figure out what it was. But what it was is that my shadow was protecting the inner child and no longer wanted to feel powerless. Okay, so sometimes it doesn't show up as a physical ailment. Sometimes it's coming out as a behavioral problem, okay? Think about kids, okay? I remember when my daughter was in pre-K, there was a little boy, okay? And I remember I had volunteered to work in the class one day. And I'm standing there, and I see this little boy, it was the end of nap time, right? And he was tired. He was tired. They were making him get up, and he was angry. And there was a little girl that was still on her cot. They hadn't gotten to waking her up yet. And this little boy walked over, picked up the cot, and threw her out of the cot. I mean, very violently. Okay, and the little girl woke up screaming, right? And they punished the little boy, right? But what they didn't see was that that was his inner child or his shadow screaming, okay, about something that was going on in his house. And in that moment, Spirit told me, you know, his mother's a crackhead, and they can't sleep. The kids can't sleep. Okay, he felt unsafe in his own home. Okay, and so school was the place he used to want to come to sleep. And his body was too tired, and it was coming out in aggression. Okay, and I often think about that little boy, honestly, because I wonder how things turned out for him. If nobody was listening, he was going to internalize it. Eventually, your body internalizes it, and it shows up as an illness. Leah Lou, like you were talking about fibromyalgia. My mother suffers from fibromyalgia. And I feel like the reason why she has fibromyalgia is because she doesn't want to look at her childhood. Okay, because to look at her childhood, even when I told my mother about what happened to me, to look at my childhood means she has to look at her childhood, and she wasn't able to do that. Okay, it's funny because I was just talking to her about something about that the other day, and she couldn't remember anything. And the reason why she can't remember it is because it will make her not only have to deal with what happened to me, but what happened to her. You see? All right. So I want to talk about, let's get some angel answers too, because I feel like what Spirit is saying is when it could be a relationship, okay? Like when I had gotten the third autoimmune, it was telling me there's something going on in your relationship and you're not looking at it. You're not seeing it. You're acting as if everything is okay, but it's not okay, and your body's screaming at you. Okay, so once I received it, you know, and like I said, it came wrapped in a tower where I was forced to deal with something that I didn't want to look at. And once I did, the symptoms went away. Because even though I will always be diagnosed with that autoimmune, now I know if that autoimmune flares up, what the fuck is happening around me that I'm not paying attention to? You see? Choose a new direction. Okay, so when your body is screaming at you in that way, or your mind is screaming at you in that way, or your heart is screaming at you in that way, it's telling you you're going the wrong way. It's nature's way of telling you reroute. Okay, then you have not the right time. You could be engaging in something. Okay, let's say, I'm gonna use a random example. Let's say you just got engaged. Let's say you just got engaged, and you know, you start noticing that you're having more shedding in your hair, right? And you're like, you know, that's funny. I'm losing a lot of hair, right? And then you get closer and closer, and it's coming out in fucking clumps. Maybe it's telling you that that's really not the situation you want to be, right? Opportunity is also telling you you have an opportunity to address something that is making you ill, rather than, you know, looking at it as a bad thing, like, oh, I've been diagnosed with such and such, and it may be something terrible, but it's also telling you this is an opportunity to clear out something that you're holding internally within your chakras that is making you ill. Okay, so we're going to just let some tarot fall out. I want to know what Spirit has to say about this. Okay, another one. Okay, I had a client, okay, won't mention their name, but they say that when they get stressed out, they notice that their body smells differently. It's telling you, okay, that something is making you very anxious, and that there's too much acidity in your body, okay? Because something is throwing you off chemically, okay? That you need to intake something that will alkaline the body, okay? That your stress level is making you ill. Okay, so you have the Two of Wands at the bottom of the deck, okay? And it usually means that there's something that you need to change, address, choose differently, but you could be ignoring that. And isn't it strange that Spirit chose this Two of Wands? You see the shadow looming. The shadow is looming over you, telling you, hey, are you paying attention? I've been trying to send you messages, right? And then you keep getting sick because you ignored the first one. And so they had to light up something else, and you ignored the second one and lights up something else, right? So that's what it's telling you, right? Now, for those of us women, I want to talk to the women for a second. You have horrible periods, okay? Or you have severe pain, or you're getting fibroids, or, anything along those lines in the reproductive area. It is telling you that there's some type of sexual or emotional trauma tied to sex, to a sexual partner or something like that, that you have not addressed. Okay, your body's screaming at you that you're holding a trauma in your sacral chakra. I figured that one out for myself, okay? That's when that third autoimmune was telling me, this is triggering what happened. And this is why this is happening. And what was crazy, let me tell you something before I even start pulling these cards. Interstitial cystitis, which is the third autoimmune that I was diagnosed with, is a loss of lining on your bladder that protects you from the toxins that you bring into your body, whether you breathe them in, allergies, it could be many causes, right? But interstitial cystitis also has been linked to trauma, to sexual trauma, okay? So it turned out that there was a large study, okay? And it was saying that when your body responds like that, it is responding in the way that your body was traumatized, okay? So the onset, and I'm trying to make this story short, but I want you to fully get the picture. I had endometriosis real bad all my teenage years, all my whole life. I mean, really, really, really bad, right? I used to end up in the emergency room, all types of shit. So the doctors kept telling me you should get a hysterectomy. I was afraid to get the hysterectomy. So they had this other procedure. They had this procedure where they would kind of like chemically burn the lining of the uterus so your periods wouldn't be so heavy and you would kind of stop bleeding, but they wouldn't do the procedure itself. So I had this procedure done, right? So it stopped the periods from being so bad. But what happened? I woke up with the interstitial cystitis. Now, why? Because my body registered that burning of the lining as the original trauma I had when I was 5 years old. And I had something going on around me that was similar. So at that time, what my body was trying to tell me is, hey, you've got something going on in your relationship. And I kept thinking, oh, it's my endometriosis. And I ignored the symptoms. So I went and got a procedure, and that procedure actually compounded what was happening internally. And then that's when I realized the light bulb went off. Like, oh. And I remember leaving the doctor's office and sitting in my car crying. And I called my daughter and she said, what's the matter? And I said to her, I said, the doctor explained that this procedure, or this illness is related to old trauma. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I'm never going to get away from the trauma that happened to me as a child because it's still making me sick at like 45, 46 years old, okay? So this is what I'm saying to you, okay? Before you go, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't use medicine or holistic ways, the first step is looking at why this is happening, okay? You got the hangman out here, stuck holding on to something that's related to the Ten of Cups. Happy life, happy wife, happy family. This could be in your childhood. This could be in a relationship, right? Maybe you never had that, right? Maybe you never had that. Okay, or maybe, you know, I'm seeing here the hangman, the 10 of cups, and the 8 of cups, right? This could be an abandonment issue, right? And then you get into relationships with toxic masculines or toxic feminines that leave you in the same way. Let me tell you, my husband, who's deceased, and you know, I talk about him often, right? He had a problem, emotionally with one of his parents, and I feel like that followed him all of his days, okay? And I feel like, it made him ill in certain ways, more emotionally, but he never looked at that, okay? He never looked at that. And I feel like in the end, he didn't even resolve that, okay? So he took that with him, okay? And we're here trying to resolve the things that we don't want to look at. Okay, so 5 of Wands, okay, conflict, okay, there's a conflict going on within your body, okay, that's showing up as an illness, okay, Page of Pentacles, the forever student, right, so you have an opportunity here to learn what it is, okay, but at the same time, a lot of these things are rooted in our childhood, okay? Are rooted in our childhood. Let's look at it a different way. Let's say that you come from a religious family and you're very spiritual, right? Earth school student, right? And you have all these mystical abilities and they tell you, that's evil, that's bad, right? So, and then you get older and you have, depression and anxiety because they told you to shut your gifts down. And now the gift that would have told you what's going on in your body, you won't listen to because they've been telling you that it's not, good. So you might have registered that as I'm not good, because how can you separate yourself from your gifts? You can't. Okay, so we need to look at what is making us ill. Okay, I'm just going to try to read what some of this is coming from. Yeah, I understand that, Jennifer. I listen. I really do get that. Okay, I feel like there's so many of us that have experienced things as children, but we don't want to look at it, okay? Because it means that we have to look at how unprotected we were. And, not to blame the parents, right? Because, yeah, that's a whole other story, right? But not to blame the parents, because understand that oftentimes when these parents let these things happen to their kids, it's because they too endured a trauma, and usually a very similar one, right? The sins of the father, okay? So you have the Lovers out here, and I feel like the Lovers is the biggest one, okay? The Lovers is the biggest one. Why? Because, especially for women, I think for men too, but especially for women, right? We internalize the loss of a partner, right? Or cheating or a toxic relationship as part of our self-worth, right? part of our self-worth, right? So here's the Lovers, right? And the Lovers indicates a choice, but it also indicates, you know, that there could be two people to choose from, right? Two people to choose from, right? And you might not have been the one who is chosen. Male or female, Queen of Swords crossed is bitter, resentful, okay, angry, right? Strength. You may refuse to look at it, right? You may say, I'm strong, I don't need a man, or I don't need a woman, or fuck love, or, you know, I'm never, none of these people are out here are good, right? But then you realize, like, I'm getting sick, right? I might have contracted some type of sexually transmitted disease, or even if you didn't, right? You could be getting like endometriosis or some other fibroids, right? PCOS, okay? Something could happen to you as a child as well, okay, where you opened yourself up to someone who was toxic, maybe who reminds you, you remind me of a love that I once knew, because we repeat things, right? And then here you are in a new relationship, and this person could be cheating on you, and your body is screaming, right? All of a sudden you can't figure out what's going on with you. Oh, you know, I've got blood clots the size of my palm. Your body's telling you something, right? Your body's calling, right? There's something that we're not seeing, all right? So this is, you know, the calcification of your third eye isn't just so you can get messages from spirit. This is so that you can know how to take care of yourself, okay? How to listen to your body, okay? I've heard many people say that we're not even supposed to get sick, okay? That the body was not designed like that, okay? But the reason why we get sick is because of the chemicals and the toxins that are around us, and also because we were taught, you know, to shut that down and suppress what we feel, and it shows up in other ways. Two of Pentacles, right? Two of Pentacles. So you have a choice. You can face the, you know, what's happening, what your body's trying to tell you, right? Or you might have to do a process of elimination, right? Let's say you ignore it, right? Queen of Cups. And you're pouring into everybody. You know, I love everybody, and I'm always trying to fill everybody's cup. You're fucking tired. You're sick. Your hair's falling out. It's telling you that you're not giving to yourself, okay? That you're caring, you've elevated this lover more than yourself, and your body is screaming at you with the Lovers again coming out here, okay? Maybe you feel like somehow, you know, your self-worth is tied to that, and the reason why that happens is because there was another experience before that that made you feel like somehow you were not worthy. Knight of Cups, right? And the Knight of Cups could be you telling you, you know, I want you to love yourself, fill your own cup, right? But you could be this Queen of Cups filling a Knight's cup, okay? Hoping that they're going to choose you, male or female, and it's making you sick, okay? Sometimes, you know, you could be no longer in that relationship, but you're holding anger, resentment, sorrow, right? And then, you know, you see them get married, and all of a sudden, you know, you have a new ailment or a return of an ailment that you thought you beat. That's spirit's way, that's your body's way of telling you you have an unresolved issue there. Empress, right? Empress makes the world grow, right? And you don't want to look at the heartbreak. But I'm the Empress. Why would I be heartbroken? Everybody loves the Empress. No, everybody loves to receive from the Empress. Everybody loves to draw on the Empress's energy. But what are you doing for yourself to heal yourself? The Empress heals the world, but are you listening to what your body needs to heal? Okay? Yeah, the High Priestess. And it's your body's way of telling you, look over here. It's time to speak up on this. We're trying to tell you that you've repressed some emotion and it's sitting inside of you like a knot, waiting for you to unravel it. And the more you ignore it, it's like a tumor, it's growing, okay? Ace of Cups. Right? So the Ace of Cups is talking about love and abundance, right? And, you know, you may not think about it with the Eight of Swords in reverse. You could be saying, well, I don't think about the bad things that happened to me. I don't think about, you know, that person anymore or that situation, right? But the Knight of Wands is living under the surface, okay? And you could be blaming yourself for this fuck boy or fuck girl's energy, but you don't want to look that they're the blame, right? So who's to blame if it ain't them? What's up, Pop? Two of Wands, right? Two of Wands is telling you you have to make a choice. It's not an accident that both of these cards are the same. Spirit, why is this Two of Wands here? The Two of Wands is here because of the Four of Cups. The shoulda, woulda, couldas, right? So let's go back to the children who experience some type of trauma, whether it's molestation, abuse, verbal, emotional, physical, right? And that child felt defenseless, right? And the shadow, you know, may have felt defenseless too, or may have tried to address it in another way, right? And in your adulthood, you may have put that out of your mind, right? You don't like to look at it because you may have felt like you missed an opportunity. You missed an opportunity or you didn't address it the way you should have. In your adulthood, you look at it differently, right? But then somebody comes in and treats you the same way. And then boom, triggered, right? Two of Cups, the soulmate tie, right? The soulmate tie for the person who did it first. And then the soulmate tie that you're in that's triggering it is telling you you've been holding on to something. Here is the Five of Pentacles. Okay, some of this shit, I'm gonna talk to the females for a minute. Some of this shit happened to us when we were pregnant. Okay? And we're passing on that same energy to the child that we have in utero. Some of us endured trauma, male or female, while our mothers were pregnant. Okay? Think lack mentality. Okay? Five of Pentacles. King of Wands, right? And it could hamper. I'm preach for a minute. Let's say you were let's say your biological mother went through some type of trauma when she was pregnant and you were in utero. Okay? And this prevents you as an adult. You felt left out in the cold, right? For whatever reason. And now, okay, you are the King of Wands, okay? You take action, but you never let people in. Right? You never let people in. You feel like you have to do everything alone, right? I got to separate myself from others. That may be that frequency that you had in utero. The shit didn't even happen to you, but you carry that trauma. Okay? There's a lot of melanated people, and there've been studies about slavery and how many of us still carry the trauma within us in the DNA, okay? All right? So that's another way of looking at it. Okay, another way. Let's say, you know, you were adopted. Okay, let's say you were adopted and you are adopted by a family that adores you, right? They adore you. But while you were in utero, you might have had somebody that was abusive to you, or they were abusing themselves through drugs or some other thing, right? And and you could feel the sensation of being unwanted, go through depression, go through all types of things, and it has nothing to do with your current experience and everything to do with the utero experience. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about this because I feel like we need to start doctoring ourselves and looking at what, you know, it's all good to go to the doctor and find out what you need to do to address something, and another matter to look at where it came from. I feel like this is very important, okay? We need to look at where it's coming from. All right, so you have out here sudden wealth, marriage, and journey. Listen, a lot of men and women will go through situations and find themselves ill, and they're in a bad marriage, and they leave, and all of a sudden they feel better. What the fuck is that about? Well, your body was screaming at you. Okay? Sudden wealth. Spirit, why? How many couples or people you know stay together for finances and they know that the situation is not healthy? Okay? Or teenagers in a home that is abusive and they don't have a way to get out. So they're, you know, their bodies could be screaming at them, right? And then what happens? Pop up, right? Your body's, you know, shows some new thing, right? And in some ways, it could even be your body retaliating against you. Like, why won't you change this? Why won't you address this? Why won't you look at this shit? We need you to pay attention. All right? Or maybe they're telling you, stand up for your fucking self. Stop letting these people walk all over you, okay? For money or because you feel like there's no way out, right? Marriage, right? Spirit, why is this marriage card here? I also think that marriages, okay? I'm not saying that marriages are bad, but that's where we go when we're adults and we start unraveling, because, you know, the soulmate is supposed to be somewhere safe that you could look at the issues that you need to look at within yourself, and vice versa. You're kind of mirroring each other, right? And it feels like, you know, we get into marriages and we might recognize that we married the abuser, okay? Or married people that have those traits, right? Marriage, focused, eyes for you, fascinating, watching, right? Spirit, let me get one more. And I feel like what we're doing is, you know, we are trying to work out things that are unsolved, obsessive, right? You might realize, why does relationships always go bad for me? My health is deteriorating because you keep picking the same person, and Spirit's screaming at you like, listen, it's coming in a different wrapper, but that's the same motherfucker. All right, journey, Spirit, why? Triggers, right? And you go through this whole lifetime figuring like, why does something keep happening to me? Because you keep touching that third rail, right? And you haven't figured out why it's electrified, right? You won't look at it. Receipts, right? Receipts, proof, show me. You just won't look at it. And Spirit is, and you're pretending that it's not happening, but it is. And your anxiety is growing, right? And either you show the anxiety outward through depression or some other OCD, whatever, right? Or it goes down the chakra system and it shows up in some other place, right? That's what Spirit wants us to talk about. They want us to recognize what's going on internally, because even before you needed medicine to deal with something, your body was trying to tell you something. All right? And I feel like that's what we need to address that. We need to look at that. Anything else, Spirit, from this deck? What's good, Maria? Okay, so past life relationship, okay? And you know, we all know we take this soul contract, right? And you keep meeting the same people over and over, right? This could even be something that you didn't deal with in the past life and you came back to deal with this to beat it, meaning you have to address it. Okay, so if you suffer from, like, let's say anxiety or depression, Spirit's trying to tell you, look at something, look at a pattern. What did I say? Relationship abuse, past life relationship abuse. It's coming wrapped in a new person. So even if it's not the same person, it's the same song. Another sad love song wrapped in my brain like crazy, right? So you're going over the same thing. Let go control issues. This is another one too. Reading questions are on Wednesday, hun. Okay, so let go control issues. This is when you are, you know, let's say, for those of you who have had some type of trauma as a child, right? You had a trauma as a child. And so you don't necessarily want to address it, or you've not looked at it to address it. But what you do is you set up parameters. You set up parameters. So what do I mean by this? Okay, so a child that was molested, let's say they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe, so they go out with particular people, maybe more docile than them, right? More docile than them. They have children. They won't let anybody watch the kids, right? All these kind of things, because they're setting up parameters to prevent what's happening or what happened to them, right? But in the same way, you're energetically, it's like saying the wrong words in your manifestation. You're actually manifesting the thing that happened to you because you're so worried about it repeating itself. Okay? And then, you know, you got overcome the odds in reverse. You can't overcome it. You can't overcome it because you haven't found where it resides in your body, right? And rather than dealing with it, what you've done is set up like roadblocks to make sure it doesn't happen, but you're not addressing what happened. On the fence in reverse, right? You got to get off of trying to put up these walls and look at what it really did to you. Okay, you got religious factors here crossed, okay? Let's take a look at that. Why is this religious factors here? I'm going to mention a third option. Let's talk about the LGBT community and religious factors. Okay, and you could have grown up in a very, you know, religious family that was opposed to your lifestyle. And I actually have one of my best friends, okay, who I knew he was gay early. Okay, it was very apparent to me because I had a cousin who was gay at a very early age. So it wasn't a mystery to me. Okay, this person had a very masculine father, okay, who would have been very much against that whole scenario, right? So what did he do? Okay, he couldn't choose the love that he wanted, okay? Choose love and open for love. He felt like that was closed off to him. So what did he do? He was abusing drugs so badly that he ended up in rehab. And I was pregnant with my son, and I remember he called me and he was like, I need you to come. I need you to come to this rehab. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I have something I want to tell you. I said, well, you can tell me now, but I'll be there today. He said, I'm gay. I said, babe, I knew that. I knew that. But I need you to know that that's why you're there. You're there because you repressed something so much so that you wouldn't have to live your true self because you felt like it wouldn't be accepted. So you've made yourself ill in other ways, okay? Made yourself ill in other ways. All right. So, you know, Spirit had me talk about this, okay? Because they want us to start looking at why we have been ill. And I feel like this applies to everybody. We've been ill in some way, shape, or form, whether this is mentally, emotionally, physically, okay? Your body's trying to communicate with you, okay, with the Eight of Wands, okay? Fast-moving communication, okay? And you may, and initially with this Seven of Cups, not know where it's coming from. Start trying to, you know, look at what it reminds you of, or when's the first time you felt like that, or start tracking those things, start tracking the dreams. All right, this is how you will get that new beginning and free yourself. Okay, and oftentimes this Knight of Swords is something you need to speak. Okay, something you need to speak. All right, for a child it might be, Mom, I never told you so and so did this, or whatever. This is how you're going to come into balance, even if that person doesn't believe you. But sometimes it's that you need to acknowledge it. Okay. So that's pretty much what I have for you guys today. I really wanted to talk about that. I'm going to pull a postcard and we're going to get up out of here. But really start thinking about, you know, even if you don't have an illness right now, think of the times, okay, that you had a persistent illness and what it was trying to tell you. What was it trying to tell you? What was it trying to tell you? One, please. Thank you. What is true for you? Can you be impeccable with your word? Sure you can, as long as it's not used to manipulate others. The truth can set everyone free. Let go of the results. Let go of your fears and allow the truth to empower you and others. This will set into motion a kind of change that will be supportive of you and loving and all kinds of prosperous. This is not a time to compromise and hide your truth from others. Whatever it is you want, go for it and be clear in your motives, especially with yourself. You will be so happy you did. This is a time where you will tap into the power to co-create and manifest your best life. Doesn't that feel amazing? And the results miraculous. When you tell the truth and ask the same of others, you can learn a lot from life's bountiful lessons and achieve your dreams. Love always. So I feel like what Spirit is saying is that when we don't speak our truth, we are making ourselves sick. Okay? So, you know, don't be afraid to look at what is happening, why it's happening, and what you need to change. All right, so that's what I got for you guys. I'd just like to say thank you to my returning subscribers for coming through and spending a little time with me. And if you're a new viewer and you felt I resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and comment, as I'd love to have you as part of the Lovelee Soul family. I'm wishing you all light and love and blessings on blessings. Bye.